How's it going? Wooden Spoon Supercoach here. I've got some spreadsheets to go over that should hopefully help you guys build your teams if you've got any players that you're stuck between picking. Hopefully these spreadsheets will be able to help and they will be updated as the year goes on, so they'll be relevant all year. We've got a round 1 to 11 in depth, which is this one, an origin period one, and a players of interest one, which was more just for building my initial team, but I'll throw it in there anyway because it might help some people. If you want to skip all the numbers and maths and shit, then skip to this point and that'll take you just to how to use this table. So getting into it, first category we've got gunness. This was decided by the odds of the teams making the top 8 or top 4. I can't remember which one it was. So if your team is blue or green, sorry, blame Sportsbet. So we use that gunness score to come up with the draw score. So 38 points for the Knights. They get 4 points for playing the Cowboys, Manly, New Zealand, 2 points for Bulldogs, Canberra, yada yada, you get it. We then have the amount of home games a team has, because typically teams do better at home. Nothing too complicated yet. Then we've got the fortress factor. So this is determining how valuable home games actually are to each team. Some teams perform much better at home, others don't. So we get that number by doing home game wins minus away game wins. We times it by 10 just so it's an easier number to work with, and then we add on the win percentage. That's how we get this number. We then times that number by how many home games they have, and then we times that number by the draw score, divide it by 10 just to make it an easy number to work with, and then we get this result here. So factoring all that shit in, we can see that the Sharks and Broncos have the best starting 11 games, followed by the Eels, Raiders, Manly, Storm, and the Bulldogs having a fairly good starting 11. Then we get down into the average and then the really bad starting games. So let's say, for instance, you were tossing up between starting with Nicho Hynes or Nathan Cleary. If we look at this table, we can see that the Panthers and the Sharks are on quite opposite ends of the scale. Yes, Nicho Hynes does have a bye in there and Cleary doesn't. However, the Panthers have some really tough matchups and the Sharks have a lot of really forgiving matchups. Obviously, it's Nathan Cleary. He can score a ton on any given day. So this table definitely isn't deciding your players for you. It just kind of helps you weigh up a couple of players. This table was a big reason for me picking Mitch Moses. We can see that Para have the third best starting 11 games, no buys, and a bunch of easy matchups in there. So I think that Mitch Moses coming in at just over 500k is a much better starting option than Nathan Cleary this year, especially because the Eels have 7 home games and plenty of green and blue matchups in there. So I think there's some big scores to be had for Para early in the season. Now, this fortress factor and all that shit does weigh quite heavily into this last score. So there's easily an argument to be made that the Broncos have a better starting 11 than the Sharks, but it's close. You know, you can just look at the table and kind of figure it out for yourself, but there's no doubting that the teams with the better draws are up the top and the shit ones are down the bottom. So definitely a helpful table. Each week I'll be adding in the SuperCoach points scored and conceded for each team, and we'll slowly update these gunness rankings throughout the year. So if you want access to this, it'll be in the description along with the other two. Moving on to the origin period one. So this one's a bit more simple, just laying out how many games each teams are playing, how many major buys, how many minor buys, and the draw score. So in my opinion, the Dolphins are going to be a very desirable team going into the origin period. They only missed round 13, and I think they're going to do pretty good this year. They may lose a bunch of players to origin itself, but if we look over here, they have a 66% win percentage last year without their origin guns. So they seem to still do pretty well during this period, so I think we'll be targeting them. You could use this table to influence your starting team, even though it is so far away. For example, if you're tossing up Herbie Farmworth, maybe the deciding factor for you is that he's going to be probably the best center to have in your team over this period. He won't be playing Origin, and he plays 7 of the 8 games. This will also be down in the description for anyone who wants it. Then we have this spreadsheet. There is a fuckload of players here. What do we got? 93 players that I think are going to be looked at by a lot of people. Obviously, there's going to be some people missing in here. I can't get everyone. But again, say you're tossing up a player, you could come in here, type in the guy you're looking for, and maybe see what I've got to say about him. I'm not a fucking genius, but maybe there'll be a little point in there that you weren't aware of, like a dual position being taken away or something. So that is also available to everybody. We'll do a little team update while we're here because it is completely different. Mostly in the second row forward, it was just super imbalanced and shit, so I've fixed that up. We've brought in Brandon Smith. We've brought in Taniela Paseka. I can't believe I didn't fucking think of him. He's definitely the best front row forward cheapy option, and I think he's going to be in most people's teams. We've got rid of Hudson just because I'm not liking the likelihood of him dropping cash at the start of the year. And we've balanced it out a bit better by bringing in Cam Murray, Helam Lukey, and Charlie Geimer. We've removed the hammer for Ponga because I've kind of had a little bit of a change of heart on him. I've realized that the Knights attack at the start of last year when everyone was fit was actually really good. So I think Ponga could make some money, and that is more important than points at the start of the year. And all these changes have allowed me to get Herbie Farmworth in alongside Kealiro. So I'm liking this team much, much, much better. And I will be doing a video specifically on cheapies, but word is that Makasini could be getting a spot at the Tigers, so I've stuck him in, as well as Sedu 2, who is genuine basement price. If we see him on any team's list for the Dragons, then everyone's going to throw him in, being bottom dollar. So I think this team's looking a lot more balanced now, and hopefully the blokes flaming me in the comments last video pipe the fuck down. They weren't wrong, though. It wasn't a good team. I spent about an hour on it and got it uploaded like the day of Team Picker, so I definitely didn't spend as much time as I would have liked on it. I've got a lot of videos planned for the preseason, so make sure you've hit subscribe if you don't want to miss any of those. Chuck a like on the video if you can be bothered, and I'll see you in the next one. Merry Christmas, everyone. Happy New Year. All that shit. See you next time. Hooroo.